Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our education webinar today. My name is Tom LaHood. I'm part of the Minnesota SCORE chapter and leading the education committee. We appreciate the time you've taken to join us today. In a few moments, we will get the program started, but first, I'd like to share with you a brief background about SCORE in case you have never worked with us before, and for those who have, a great refresher to keep in mind. This presentation, by the way, is going to be recorded, so if you ever would like to revisit it, we'll be sending out a replay link along with a copy of the deck that you will see today. And by the way, for those of you who are interested in engaging with our presenter today, please use the chat window or the Q&A panel to submit your questions. Also, a brief update on today's program. We are going to extend the duration of this program a little bit to allow for more questions. I know this topic is very relevant and also very exciting at the same time. So we wanted to provide you with that opportunity to engage with our presenter, ask questions, and interact. So if your schedule allows, please stay on beyond 1 o'clock, which is our scheduled end time. We will be going an additional 20 to 30 minutes beyond that. A brief overview to share with you about our chapter and also about SCORE in general. For those of you who are not familiar with SCORE, we are a nonprofit organization that is an independent resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. And our core services include offering small businesses free and confidential mentoring. Most of it can be either in person or online via Zoom. We also provide many educational programs, such as the one you're experiencing today. And specifically for our chapter, which services parts of Southwest Florida and Sarasota and Manatee counties, we are proud to have more than 90 SCORE volunteers to help you in multiple phases of your business. As far as the founding of SCORE, rich history dating back to 1964, and we have helped more than 11 million clients and small businesses throughout the nation. In case you're wondering about SCORE's journey and your journey, we are here to help you in almost every aspect of your business, whether you are considering to start a business and you're looking to plan ahead or perhaps inquire about funding or any type of support services, all the way to closing your business or selling or exiting your business. We're proud to be part of that journey, and we're here to help you every step of the way. And that is not possible without our local sponsors. We wanted to take a moment to thank them for supporting our chapter, helping us to provide the services to you, and also keeping these services free and available when needed. These are some of the sponsors that we work with, and we appreciate their support for this chapter. And finally, if you're interested in starting a business, or if you already have started and you'd like to scale, grow, or you're experiencing growth issues in your business, we're here to support you. Please reach out. This is our website and phone number, score.org/Minnesota. You can log in, you can explore our services. You can even see our library of all the webinars we've recorded this year. You can preview them, you can access the presentation deck, so you can also request a mentor. I'll take a moment now to introduce our presenter, Charlie Morris. Charlie, thank you so much for being with us. Charlie is a mentor with the SCORE Bucks County chapter, Philadelphia. And he's a retired software developer and technology executive with more than 40 years of experience. Charlie holds a master's degree in computer science with specialties in AI and software engineering from Villanova University and a bachelor's degree in experimental psychology with minors in computer science and mathematics from Moravian College. Charlie has worked in the defense, financial services, medical devices, and clinical trial software industries. With that, I'd like to turn over to Charlie to start the presentation.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. I'm going to skip over the SBA slides. We have a lot to cover. It'll be about maybe half slides, but I'm a big fan of doing live demos. So I will be taking you into the various AI tools. We'll be talking about primarily what ChatGPT is. However, most of the tools, Gemini, Claude, and whatnot, most of them work substantially the same. So much of what you learn here, you can pick up and use with any of the large language model tools. We'll talk about prompting, and then we'll spend a lot of time with use cases, with how you can actually use it and what it does. And then we will wrap up with the ethical and legal concerns of using these tools. They aren't perfect, and you kind of have to know where the guardrails are. And then I will talk about some of the other tools that are available. So let me just do one thing here before I get started. I want to put the chat up in the Q&A just so I can see some of the questions as they roll in. Okay, so what does ChatGPT stand for? It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Thank goodness we have technology people to create funky names. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So how ChatGPT works, what the generative means is ChatGPT creates sentences in response to input. Now it does create more than words now. It'll create images, it'll create a lot more, but at its core, it creates sentences. It doesn't employ anything remotely like human reasoning. It's a mathematical model of what the next word or sequence might be based on what it was trained with. So in summary, large language models, which all these tools are sophisticated probabilistic models designed to predict the next word in a sentence based on the data that they were trained on. So let's put a pin on based on the data that they were trained on, because that's the key. So it's pre-trained, and this is how many parameters, and what they mean by a parameter, it roughly equates to the number of interconnections in what's called a neural network behind these large language models. The original ChatGPT-1 had 117 million parameters. ChatGPT-4 was estimated to have over 1 trillion parameters, and they haven't even released the data around ChatGPT-5. Parameters are configurable variables within the AI model that are adjusted during the training process to optimize the model's performance. The data in ChatGPT-5 is current through October 2024, but it can search the internet for additional information. And as they come up with new versions of the model, it includes more current training. ChatGPT does contain tools that prevent generating harmful content. Most of the tools have them, although some tools are emerging with the guardrails turned off. Not sure why they would want to do that, but there are tools out there that will create content that's not very savory. The transformer, screen here. The transformer refers to the self-attention mechanism in the model to weigh the importance of words in a sequence. In other words, the model pays attention to the context of what's being chatted about. For example, in the sentence, the cat sat on the mat, the large language model understands the relationships between cats, mats, and sitting. And it learns these relationships. So it understands words in their context. And this is important from the point of view of that as you chat with the tools, they learn more from your chat. And they understand everything that you've chatted about to date in the chat. So put simply, there's a computer scientist, he's very famous, Stephen Wolfram. The first thing to explain is that what ChatGPT is always fundamentally trying to do is to produce a reasonable continuation of whatever texts it's gotten so far, whereby reasonable means what one might expect somebody to write after seeing what people have written on billions of web pages. It's trained on billions and billions and billions of pieces of information from the web, from other places. So that's the key, is the data that it's trained on. So it can be fine-tuned on specific tasks or domains to improve its performance in those areas. We'll show you some examples of that. It's particularly useful in business and customer service applications, where its ability to generate coherent responses makes sense, and we'll talk a bit about that shortly. And to be honest, it's revolutionizing the way we communicate and interact with technology. For instance, um, Apple's Siri, Amazon Alexa, they're all AI-based tools, and they're all getting smarter and smarter. So just to talk about the various versions quickly, there's a free ChatGPT version, and there's a number of different paid models. The most common is the Plus model, but there's now a professional model, there's a business model, there's a Teams model, and they all vary in pricing somewhat. But for most people, the Plus model is what they use. I have a paid subscription at the Plus level that I use. So ChatGPT Plus is $20 a month. That seems to be the price point for a lot of these tools. It's the Plus version has voice activated features in like the iPhone app. You can talk to it and it'll talk back. The number of messages that you can give it is much bigger with the Plus version. You can use the free version, and after a while, it'll say, "Hey, you've kind of used up your quota. Come back in a couple hours." Okay. It will generate images. So we'll show some examples of where you can have ChatGPT generate pictures. Most of the slide images you'll see in this deck were generated by AI. The ChatGPT free version did not used to generate charts and graphs. That may have changed. These things change on the fly. The paid version, as you'll see shortly, generates charts and tables. It's amazing what it can do. There are also, you can also build what are called GPTs. They're standalone tools, and I will show you one shortly. The free version can access GPTs, but if the GPT accesses advanced features, then the GPT might not work. Obviously, with the paid version, they give you early access. Like when the Mac OS desktop app first came out, it came out to the Plus users. And frankly, if you're a casual user, the free version's fine. If you're a serious user, meaning you're going to use this daily for business, I urge folks to buy an account. It's a couple trips to Starbucks. That's how I think about it. Oh, it's a couple cups of coffee. So okay, and then GPT-5 came out this year. It's got automated fast versus deep thinking mode for each query. The bottom line is it'll automatically route whether it's a quick answer or it has to think more about it. The context size, meaning the number of text tokens you can have in the context window as you chat, is vastly larger than it used to be, meaning that the chats can be bigger. It has built-in reasoning called chain of thought, where it'll do stepwise analysis, which it didn't used to do. They have enhanced tools for calling them from external applications. They unified everything. It used to be that you had to use the text or the code or the image or the voice piece separately. They unified it all in one model. And there are settings for how verbose the reasoning depth etc. And as the models have progressed, they've gotten smarter. And we'll talk about what a hallucination is, but that's a technical term in the AI world for what happens when AI makes a mistake. They're much safer. They uh, hallucinate much less than they used to be. So there's a term called prompting, which is a fancy word for how you speak to AI. If you treat AI like Google and just ask it simple questions, you'll get simple answers, and you may not get the answers that you want. With prompting, and you'll see how I do it very soon. You want to be clear and concise. The more specific you can tell ChatGPT, the better. You want to provide context. Tell it, what the context is. What I would call the context is, if you're looking to solve a business problem, describe the business problem. ChatGPT was trained on examples, so giving it examples is kind of its default learning mode. It learns from examples. For example, if you want it to help generate emails for you, give it some examples of emails you've written and tell it to learn from them and write in that style. Then it'll write emails that sound like you wrote them because it learned from your style. Use language consistently. So if you're talking about marketing, use marketing language. If you're talking about finance, use finance language. It understands those things. And last but not least, don't be afraid to experiment. I find this stuff a lot of fun. And so you aren't going to break it. It's not going to call you bad names. It's just a lot of fun. Okay. So we're going to break out of the slides for now, and we're going to go through some examples, customer service, content creation. I'm going to do some branding exercises, some website profile stuff. So we'll do as much of this as we have time for. In the slide deck that you'll get, there are some screenshots of stuff that I did. I put screenshots in just so you have kind of a reference, but we aren't going to go through those screenshots. The first thing I want to talk about is probably one of the biggest uses of ChatGPT are chatbots. And a ChatGPT can be used to develop chatbots or virtual assistants that can help businesses provide 24/7 support. Lots of companies use them, including SCORE. The SCORE website, score.org, has a chatbot called Scout, and it's trained on a lot of features from the website. And you can ask it questions, and we'll see that shortly. I'm going to break out of the slide deck, and I'm going to go ahead and go into. If we go to the SCORE website, hang on 1 second. This is score.org, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh it for a minute. And down at the bottom, there is a chatbot. And when you start working with a chatbot, you can ask it questions. For instance, if I'm on the site and I want it to help me find business templates, I just type in, I'm looking for a business plan template. And it will go out and it'll search and use the AI to find things. And lo and behold, there's some stuff on. So business plan and financial template gallery, let's go ahead and click on that. And there it is. So you didn't have to search the website. You just asked the chatbot. So let me take you under the covers of this chatbot. I'm going to close up these windows. And this is SCORE's chatbot. It's called Scout. Now, why do I have access to this? Because one of my roles at SCORE is I advise SCORE headquarters on how to implement AI. and I advise them on data analytics. Data and AI go hand in hand most of the time. So I help SCORE find and implement these tools. So this is Scout, and this is the AI part. And if we look at the Knowledge Hub, this is all the stuff from the website that it's trained on. And it's trained on over 2,000 sources from the website. And with the tool, you can actually give it, so say you already have a website, you can give it your website domain and it'll automatically crawl your website and add your web pages into its AI content. And then you embed the chatbot into your website and it's already learned from your site to answer questions. You can also put articles, knowledge-based pieces. It has an integration with Zendesk, which is a big help desk piece, and it'll let you uh, upload files. If you want to add AI to an existing business website, a tool like this, we happen to use chatbot.com, but there are a dozen of them or more. This is a quick way to actually get AI onto your website and have it be useful in helping your clients find content. So let's go ahead and break out of that. I'm going to go back to my slide deck for a minute, and I'm going to just quickly go through the next piece with his content creation, and then we'll go through a bunch of examples. One of the things that most businesses get started with AI is generating marketing content. So this is a very common thing that a small business will do. It'll generate, for instance, you can give it a social media topic, give it to ChatGPT, have it generate social media posts or anything like that. So let's go ahead and break out and let's break into ChatGPT itself. And this is the tool. So you have your toolbar down the side and ChatGPT. Pardon my tools here. I'm going to see if I can shut them off. There we go. Thank you. I just have a number of tools that are running that I should shut off. All right. So let's go ahead and start with I'm a business owner and I'm pretending that I have a jewelry store. So I'm going to go ahead and post a prompt. And the first thing that you usually want to do is this is called creating the persona with AI. So act as a public relations expert with 20 years of experience. And you also have extensive experience with digital media posting. So I'm creating context for it and I'm limiting its domain. I'm saying act as a PR person. Then I give it the context of the um, problem that I want it to solve. So I'm a small business owner who owns a jewelry shop. We have a diamond engagement ring design. Please write a 500-word press release that's engaging and exciting, announcing the new product, and I give it the target audience. So let's go ahead and see what this does. So here it comes. It didn't take much time at all. Notice, because I gave it the context and I told it to act as a PR person, it gave me everything you would expect from a press release. For immediate release, placeholders for my name, the byline, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read through this, but this describes that I have my jewelry shop. I have a new um, um, engagement ring. I put a lot of information around it, and there we go. Now, You can copy this out. You can edit it because it may not be 100% what you want. And when you're done with it, if you want to continue to work with it, you can paste it back into ChatGPT and say, oh, okay, I've updated this. Now I'd like to do some more things. So, for example, the next thing you might want to do once you have a press release and ChatGPT knows about it is you might want to say, oops, I forgot about the white gold mounting and the expert workmanship. So notice that it already knows the press release, it has context. So it's revising what it already knew, what it already did with a new content. So notice it starts out masterfully crafted white gold engagement ring that it's talking about the craftsmanship and the white gold. So I'm not going to bore you with all of the details. I'm just demonstrating context. So let's go ahead down to the bottom. And then I'm going to say, okay, I forgot one thing. I forgot that we use flawless diamonds. So now it's going back and it's remembered the white gold, the craftsmanship, the flawless diamonds. Note it actually told me what it remembered. And so it's going and it's rewriting this press release. And I'm just demonstrating how you can iterate with the tool through updating work. And it understands what you've already done and it's adding to it. So there we go. Once I'm happy with my press release, what's the next thing a small business might wish to do from a marketing point of view? Well, you might want to put a blog article on your website. So it knows about the press release. So I said, write a blog article for the new product. And there it goes. So in introducing our new engagement ring, and you can see for yourself, it's talking about the classic made for today's couples, the magic of flawless diamonds, expertly crafted white gold, all of these wonderful things. And if you already have blog articles that you've written on your website, and a lot of businesses do, you can give them to ChatGPT and say, here are blog articles I've written. Please use these as patterns to write future blog articles. Then it would learn from your blog articles and write future blog articles in your style so that it sounds like it's coming from you, not from AI. So the next thing that they might want to do is say, okay, now that I have my blog article and I have my press release, now I might want to do a social media post announcing this product. So I said, go ahead and write a 200 character social media post. And it's done it. It's put some emojis in it. It's limited it to 200 characters. It's put some hashtags in it. And one of the cool things about this is you can even, if you have a different demographic that you're writing to, you could tell it, okay, can you do a social post aimed at, older engaged people, younger engaged people, and it will adjust for you. So that's an example of social media work. And marketing. And this is usually the first thing that a small business owner wants to do. The next piece that I want to talk about is some work that we did for SCORE. And if you find a mentor on the SCORE website, they have a description. And our business problem that we were trying to solve was to improve mentor profiles. in SCORE. So we wrote a GPT. And what the GPT does, I'm going to go down here to this slide for a second, and then I'll show you. We wrote a custom GPT that's not hard to do. Oh, I'm sorry. And we we trained it on our profile best practices and some examples. And we pulled Google keywords on how people find our website. And we trained a GPT, and then we took anything a mentor had, a resume, a LinkedIn profile, their existing profile text, and the GPT generates a draft profile. So this is an example of where we actually created a custom little tool, and I will show you how that tool works. So this is this is our ChatGPT profile improvement tool. And I'm just going to say begin mentor profile protocol. And what it'll do is it'll say, okay, give me anything, a LinkedIn profile, a resume, whatever you have, and I'm going to give it my resume. Notice I dropped in a Word document. So this thing will take documents. It doesn't just have to take text. And I'll just show you briefly. This is my resume. And it's your typical dense, dense resume with all sorts of things I've done. So it has the resume, and I'm going to say go. And what it's doing now is based on the training, it's creating my SCORE Mentor profile. It has a summary. It talks a little about what I'm good at. It talks about what I offer SCORE clients, a little bit of personal information, and a call to action. So the business problem we had in SCORE was we needed better profiles for mentors. So what we do is we then take this profile, we give it back to the mentor, and we say, now verify it, edit it, and use it if you want. But what we did is we trained AI on our best practices, and then we took anything that AI gave that the client had and used it as source to build profiles. So this is an example of a custom built GPT that we're actually using in SCORE to build better mentor profiles to go onto our website. And we trained it on materials we already had, which is how to build a good profile. Okay, let's go on to our next demo. I'd like to move to more of a personal branding demo. So one of the things that small businesses want to do is they want to establish their brand, and it's a product management exercise, as I call it. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So I'm posting in here, I want you to act as a personal branding assistant. And why this is important is when you're building a website, you want to clearly describe what your brand is to your clients. And then moving down the food chain, using your brand, you want to come up with your value proposition for your clients. And those are usually the calls to action on your website for how you add value. So I described me. I'm an IT consultant specializing in providing business value, small business solutions. While I love technology, I'm focused on identifying and solving, providing solutions to real business problems. My buzz phrase is, what is the business problem that we're trying to solve? I'm a diagnostician. I love to sew anyway, and I deal with mom and pop shops. So let's go ahead and have it generate a branding statement. So here is my personal brand. Um, um, we go. Okay. So this is the positioning statement. I help small businesses identify their real operational challenges and implement practical, value-driven technology solutions. And then it actually suggested some taglines for my brand: business focused, diagnostic, so on and so forth. So this and you can iterate with this and say, okay, can you focus more on this? Can you focus less on this? But then once you have your brand, um, let's go ahead and say, okay, knowing my brand, please develop a value proposition statement for my customer segment. So it gives me a few options. I help small business owners solve their real problems. I partner with small retailers. I provide small business with trusted. It gave me three different options. So you can work with it and come up with more options. But here's where it gets kind of interesting. Now that it knows a little about me, given what you've learned about me in the session, propose 5 additional customer segments who may be interested in my skills. And here goes. It's thinking, so I'm going to grab some tea. So for professional service providers, healthcare micro practices, hospitality, nonprofits, and it gives me examples and why they fit. And then finally, what I can do is I can say, hey, those are interesting. Write customized value propositions for each segment. So it's going to take those segments it told me, it's going to know what it knows about me, and it's going to write value propositions for my skill set for each of these segments. So on my website, if I decide that I want to break out into healthcare micro practices, I can say, hey, I help healthcare micro practices, and there's my value proposition. So this can really help a small business understand their value, understand their customer segments, and write marketing copy that can get attention on their site. Okay, so that's kind of the branding and value proposition piece. The next piece that I want to get into is one thing that AI is good at is analyzing large amounts of data. So one of the things the clients commonly have available, they'll have surveys they gave clients, and those surveys may contain a lot of unstructured data. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop a spreadsheet in here. And what's in this spreadsheet is, and this is a bit of an eye chart, but this is survey results for SCORE seminars for my chapter. And these are just comments that clients made, and there's about 161 of them. So I just gave that whole set to ChatGPT, and let me show you the prompt. So I'm going to say, act as a sentiment analysis expert. I'll provide reasons for the webinar rating and would like you to analyze and provide a summary of the sentiments. The webinar comments refer to free business-focused webinars that are offered to small businesses. So it's got the spreadsheet. it actually open it up and okay, please go ahead and okay. Let me drop it. Let me drop it back in for a second. All right. Come on. There we go. For some reason, the first time that I added the spreadsheet, it didn't quite get it. There we go. So let's do a full sentiment analysis. And you don't have to have perfect typing skills. Like I I I I just mangled the word analysis when I when I typed it in, and it it doesn't care. It gets it. So it's going and it's analyzing that. So here's the full sentiment analysis. Using a keyword-based heuristic, there were 89 positive comments, 70 neutral, 2 negative. The overall sentiment is overwhelmingly positive. Many attendees praised the webinar for being very detailed, good information. The comment highlights were presenter knowledge, ability to break down, and it breaks down the neutral themes, and then there were a couple negative themes about the client was confused with needing more clarity. So this is an example of how you can take large amounts of unstructured data and give it to it. And let me just ask one more question. So given the data in this chat, how's SCORE doing overall? So the last thing that you can do is ask for its opinion. What do you think? So SCORE's webinar program is performing exceptionally well with strong indicators of attendee satisfaction. This means 96% of comments are positive or neutral, and negative feedback is statistically insignificant. So if you're a business and you have a lot of unstructured survey data, ChatGPT can quickly and easily help you understand how you're doing. And that is something that used to be very difficult to get. So let's go ahead and start a new chat. The next thing ChatGPT is very good at is language translation. So let's give a couple examples of that. I'm going to give the description from my seminar, and I'm going to ask it to translate it to Spanish. So there's one of the versions of the description for this event. Here we go. And I have taken these from ChatGPT and glued them into Google Translator to have them translate back as a test to make sure it's accurate. And it's incredibly accurate, and it supports over 40 languages. And let me give you an example. If you have clientele, for instance, that's Mandarin speakers, I can say translate the text to Mandarin, and it will provide me simple Mandarin character set. So this is an example of how ChatGPT used in a marketing setting works very well. Here's where I would not use it. If you're in a domain like medicine or engineering or something like that, that has a lot of jargon and a lot of very sophisticated terms, I wouldn't have ChatGPT do the translation because it may mess up. That in those cases, I would use a specialized translation service. But for most marketing tasks, it's fine. It actually works really well. Okay. We're getting close to the end of the demos. What I want to do is I want to show you how it can analyze data. It's also very good at analyzing large chunks of data. So I'm going to give it some phony sales data. And I've dropped a spreadsheet with sales data it's phony sales data from a Staples-like store. So I'm going to say act as a data analyst specializing in transactional sales data. I told it the file format just so it didn't have to figure it out by itself. So let me have it take a look at the data. There, it's loaded the data, and you can see its order numbers and order dates and all that junk. And it's going in and it's loading this data, and what it's going to do is it's saying, let me clean the data up for you. One thing the data is hang on, I'm going to say yes, clean the data. So one thing that a lot of data is, it can be messy. It may have the wrong data types. It may have blank data. It may have null data. It may have a lot of stuff. ChatGPT went through and it converted the data that it found were dates to date times. It removed duplicates that shouldn't have been there. And there are over 10,000 rows of data. There's close to 10,000 rows of data. So now that it has the data, let's start asking it some questions. Please provide sales dollar amounts over time. The x-axis should be months and the y-axis should be dollars with a dollar sign. I'm asking it to create a graph. So let's go ahead and let it rip through. Yeah, right. And there we go. It's created a chart with sales over time. I can export this chart. I can download it. I can, switch to an interactive chart that I can move my mouse over and look at certain parts of data. So it'll actually create graphs and charts. So let's start to ask some more questions of the data. So please analyze the sales data by month and quarter and determine if there are any seasonal trends. Pardon for the pauses. It's not an instantaneous system, but it's pretty close. There we go. So it's describing what it's found. It observes spikes in March, late summer and fall, December. So it's saying this resembles a common retail B2B procurement practice where year-end budgets and back-to-school timing play a role. There's some data in quarters. And so there we go. Q4 is the strongest quarter across multiple years. And so finally, it's doing a seasonal trend assessment. So let's say it will generate graphs. So let's say monthly sales chart. And then we will move on to some other demos. Oh, that's the same one that it did before. That's monthly. All right. All right. So you get the point. It analyzed large amounts of data. It created some graphics for you, and it did some analysis. Some other questions that you might want to ask it are, what are my top selling items by dollar amount? And here it comes. And the last thing I'm going to ask it in the interest of time. So notice it came up with, here are the items ranked by sales, the amount, and the total sales sold. Now, the last question I'm going to ask before we move on is, who are my top 10 customers by dollar amount sold? Who's buying the most of my stuff? And these are common answers you can get from a sales system. But if you have sales data in spreadsheets and whatnot, ChatGPT is really good at answering these questions. There we go. These are my top customers by sales. All right. Okay. So that is an example of how it can analyze large amounts of data. The last demo I want to offer is this. ChatGPT can interpret images and do things with them. So I drew on a piece of paper a login screen. And I said, act as an HTML developer. That's the language most websites are in. Read the attached image and create HTML for this login screen. So I'm showing two things here. It can look at an image and understand it, and it can generate code. So let's go ahead and, so there's my really bad picture of my login screen that I drew on a piece of paper. So it's going through and it's writing code. And I'm going to go ahead and I've copied this code out, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fire this up. And this is the screen that the HTML created. Now, granted, it's not fancy, but it actually generated HTML code from the picture that I gave it. Okay, so that's that from the demos. I want to go back to the slide deck, and I want to go over. There we go. I want to explain a couple things. So first of all, ChatGPT can create images. Couple things that you need to understand. So these examples are, I have a very good friend across town who sells retail vanilla beans on Amazon. And he's kind of like me. He's a bigger guy. So I said, wouldn't it be fun for you to have a mascot and call it the Vanilla Gorilla? So he and I iterated with some of the tools, and this is what he ended up with on the right-hand side. This is his mascot that he puts on his product labels. So he used a specialty tool called Leonardo, but these were the tools these are the pictures that came out of ChatGPT. One of the things I will say is you can't trademark or copyright an image directly coming out of AI. Now, one of the things that you know is AI sometimes gets fingers wrong. Well, the gorilla that he had like 3 fingers. So he manually edited his gorilla so it had 5. So now that and he put vanilla beans in its hand and everything. So Now that he's substantially edited this, he can probably trademark it. I don't believe that he did, but that's just an example of things that you can do with ChatGPT. I do want to go over an example of bias in AI. So AI is trained on a lot of stuff, and it's only as good as what it's trained on. So I had ChatGPT create a prompt for another tool, for a tool called Midjourney. And my prompt is simple: generate a hyper realistic image of a happy child with an apple. This is what it created. Really, really nice picture. Notice the child is Caucasian and looks male. That this is an example of bias. I didn't specify anything, and it gave me what it thought based on the amount of data it's been trained on. And a lot of the data that has been trained on is white males. Okay, so let's fix that. I just added one word: create a hyper realistic image of a happy multi ethnic child. And there's what it came up with. So I I I give you this example as an example of how it creates really good imagery. However, it can introduce bias. So if you're going to use AI to generate images, understand your customer segments, your context, so that you get the imagery that you want for your customer segments, and don't let AI make the decisions for you, because it does have bias built in. So there's a ton more that you can do with ChatGPT that I'm not going to go through. I put these in the slide deck to give you some ideas and examples and maybe get your creative juices flowing. There's a ton of things that you can do. And there's a lot of benefits. You can save time, reduce costs, become much more efficient. My use of AI in the various things that I do for SCORE has allowed me to be as productive as 2 or 3 people, because I use it every day to help me doing things with SCORE. But now let's talk about the ethical and legal issues. So there are biases inherent in the training. They're not malicious. Nobody said we want you to be biased against multi-ethnic people. That's not. It's just the data that it's trained on. Okay, and the only way you can combat it is by being aware that it's there and prompt your way around bias. Okay, from a professional point of view, yes, there will be displaced jobs in certain segments. An accounting professor from my school, the school I graduated from, Moravian, tells his accounting students at this point in AI's history, AI typically won't replace you, but who will replace you is somebody who knows how to use AI. And AI is increasingly becoming, knowing how to use these tools is increasingly becoming a basic skill. So if you're job hunting, it really helps to be able to say that you know how to use these tools. From an intellectual point of view, AI could plagiarize. I've never seen it do it. I've never ever done something and that it accidentally plagiarized something else. However, I use another grammar checking tool called Grammarly, which I've been writing for years, and I've used the tool for years, and it has a plagiarism checker in it. So anything I write, I put through the plagiarism checker just to be safe, and it's never found anything. However, I put it in here because it's possible. Also, wholly generated AI content cannot be copyrighted right now. There are zillions of cases working their way through the courts. Okay. ChatGPT can use your data to train its model. The free version will do this. the business versions automatically have this turned off. I urge you to go in, if you're going to use any of these tools, and find this setting to improve the model and turn it off. That way it won't take your data and train its models. Um, so opt out of these settings. The business versions don't have it, and GPTs will inherit the privacy setting of the GPT. So if the GPT has this turned off and you use it as a GPT, it won't train on your data. So this is just the privacy concern. People are a little worried about AI getting their stuff. So this is one way to combat that. ChatGPT makes mistakes. It requires double checking. SCOR's ethical use policy that I helped write for SCORE always requires human oversight of AI. So double check the work. Some of its answers can sound authoritative. A matter of fact, it always sounds authoritative, even when it's wrong. Okay. It lacks human insight. It only knows what it's seen. And this is what it's been trained up through. The dates of the various versions. So what's a hallucination? A hallucination is when ChatGPT produces nonsensical, irrelevant, or unrelated responses. There was an early case many years ago. I think this link is still active, where a lawyer used ChatGPT to prepare a brief for the court, and ChatGPT made up the case law, just made it up from nothing. The lawyer didn't check it, presented the brief to the court, and the judge caught him, and he got in trouble. So just be careful when you're using information from AI. Double check it. Always make sure it's right. Human oversight at all times. So what can you do to prevent the problems? Understand the model's limits. Be very clear with your prompts. Educate your users. Never use this for sensitive or critical applications. My last job before I retired, I was the head of R&D for a clinical trial software company. And one of the things our clinical trial software did is it computed drug doses for clinical trial patients. I would never use AI to compute drug doses for clinical trial patients. Okay, I don't trust it to do critical applications where lives could be at stake. Utilize the most updated models, collaborate with human experts. I've got a link to a class that I took. There's a ton of ways that you can get training on ChatGPT. I just put this one in here as an example of what I did. So think of ChatGPT as an expert assistant that needs supervision. Verify the facts. Require that qualified people use it. So if you're not an attorney, ChatGPT won't make you one. Right? Be careful. You can have it look over legal documents and give advice, but just understand that may arm you with better questions when you talk to your attorney, but it doesn't replace the use of an attorney. It's a good learning tool. Wholly owned AI content can't be copyrighted, and ChatGPT might use your information for training unless you opt out. Okay. When to give it information and when not to. Any personally identifiable information I wouldn't advise giving to AI tools. If the information is internal or non-public, you can use it with the training mode turned off for these tools. If it's publicly available information that ChatGPT probably already has access to, have at it. Okay. And at SCORE, we discourage the use of AI to create online content from scratch. That's why we train it on what we already do and then have it and then create like GPTs. So it should always, anything that comes out of AI should be overseen and edited by a competent professional. Okay, quickly, other tools. Microsoft Copilot, that's in Windows now. It comes with Office 365. There's a paid and a pro version. It's almost as good as ChatGPT. It's integrated with the Microsoft ecosystem. It's now built into PowerPoint and Word and everything else. I like it. I don't find it quite as useful as ChatGPT, but it's pretty good. It's based originally on ChatGPT. Google Gemini, it's also very good. It's gotten a lot better since it started. Now it's built into Chrome, etc. It's a pretty good tool. It's dramatically improved since it was released. It still makes um, lots of mistakes, but it's good. Okay. Finally, there's two more. Now, pardon me 1 second. I apologize. There was some noise downstairs. I wanted to close my door. So built into iOS, there's now Apple Intelligence. And one of the interesting things you can do is if you have a ChatGPT account, you can plug ChatGPT into Apple Intelligence and it augments the ability of Siri. So again, it summarizes things. There's an image playground where you can create AI images. That's an AI image of me on the right-hand side. A matter of fact, I have this on my phone as my avatar. One other tool that I wanted to mention. There's a tool that I really like called Perplexity. It takes AI and it adapts it to a search engine. So what it does, it's an AI tool, but it's designed for doing sophisticated searching of the web. So you'll give it a query, it'll go out, it'll create a structured search, and then it'll get the search results back and summarize it for you, and it'll cite the search results. It'll say, this is where I got it from. It's really useful for anybody doing research, and it's really useful for anybody doing like tech support. This is one of the biggest tech support tools that's currently used. So it's a really, really great tool. I have I have two paid tools in my stable of tools. ChatGPT is one, and this is the other. So really, really good tool. So the key takeaways from this are ChatGPT uses probability to create the answer based on its training. It's not always right. Check its work. ChatGPT can streamline some small business tasks, especially around content generation. And it's fundamentally changing the way we work. So with that, I'm just going to put my contact information up for a moment, and then I'm going to stop sharing because Tom wants to come back with some closing slides of his own.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Very informative and in-depth presentation. We appreciate that. And to those who've asked on chat, we will be sending a replay link along with a copy of this presentation in the next few days. So be on the lookout for an email from our chapter with that information. And now I'd like to take a moment to invite you all to share your questions. We do have quite a few in the chat. Charlie, if you'd like to take a look, or if you need me to, I can read them back to you. So we can tackle those.
They're asking if the recording's going to be sent. So it's one of the early ones. I like to create projects inside the paid version, but each project tends to become too heavy as it slows down. For example, so now I create is there a best way or am I missing something? So the question is, ChatGPT saves your sessions. And as you interact more with the session, it can slow down and it can get confused. So there's no workarounds for it. The answer is when the chat starts getting slowing down and confusing itself, then you want to start a new chat. And you will notice it because it may start giving you answers it already gave you, or it may start taking you down questioning rabbit holes and asking you funky questions. And that happens. I never get to that point because I know it's an issue and I don't create long chats. Okay. Um, I'm just trying to find some more questions. Do you want to do you want to look through some of these questions, Tom? You may be
Yeah.
seeing more than I am.
Yeah, there are a couple, Charlie, in the Q&A panel. So we have the chat panel and the
Got it.
Q&A.
There it
Yeah,
is.
there's two, the questions in the Q&A are very brief. One is, how does ChatGPT Plus compare to Microsoft Copilot? I think you did touch on that in your
Yeah.
most recent slide.
Yeah. I would like to drill down on it just a second more.
Sure.
Copilot is designed to operate within the Windows ecosystem. It's fantastic for Microsoft Word, Office, PowerPoint, Excel. Fantastic tool. Where it kind of falls over, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but where is it doesn't integrate as well as ChatGPT does. ChatGPT will implement with will integrate with some Microsoft tools. It'll integrate with the Google space. It's designed to integrate with third parties. Copilot's designed around the Microsoft ecosystem. And then, is there a free and a plagiarism app free or at a cost? Yes. The one that I use is called Grammarly. It is so you saw this thing popping up during my chats. That's Grammarly working in the background. It's looking for spell, semantic, it's suggesting rewording, and it's got a plagiarism checker in it. So I've been using it for years because I'm a blog or I'm a blog author, and so I use it to help me. And where it originated as a tool for teachers and students.
All right, I'll take a moment to just remind our audience again to thank them for being with us today. They can definitely reach out to us, score.org/Minnesota, our website, the phone number. They can also use their mobile device to scan this QR code if they wish to support the chapter by becoming a mentor. I'll return back to you to see if there are any other questions.
There's just one question that just popped up. If you want to create, e.g., professional services consulting decks in your company format for junior associates, can you load hundreds of other prior art decks to train? The answer is with ChatGPT, not directly. It is not a wonderful slide take. I will point you to another tool. It's actually, I do have a third paid tool that I use. It's called GenSpark. And GenSpark is what's called agentic AI. And that means you give it a task and it can implement sophisticated multi-process steps using AI to execute it. They do have a slide agent, and I've used it to generate slide decks. It won't generate them in your exact format, but you can give it your brand guide, your color, and your fonts, and it will generate credible versions that look fairly similar to your branding guide. I use it all the time for creating slide decks. It's very powerful. And it's another one of these $20 a month tool. And it has multiple agents. A slide deck is only one agent. It's got an Excel spreadsheet agent and all sorts of them. So that's my shameless plug for the third tool. Okay.
I think that's it for questions. Just to briefly return to my original presentation to share some closing remarks. And Charlie, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us to help us deliver this program today. And thank you to everyone who's attended. You will receive also from us, in addition to the replay link and the presentation deck, a request for feedback, brief survey link. We would appreciate your comments, any suggestions, whether be it on programming topics or how we can improve those education webinars. So we'll just pause for a minute to see if there are any other questions remaining, and if not, we can close the program.
Well, thank you so much for your chapter, Tom, and thank you very much to all the folks who signed on.
Thank you, Charlie. We appreciate it. The program has ended. Thank you, everyone. You may sign out.